Hi, everybody. Welcome to a very special coworking. So, this is a very uh, important moment because last month we didn't talk about it. So, I was talking with Ravi before, and this last month, at this exact time, the API, so the link between Restream, tool I use for streaming, and LinkedIn broke. So we couldn't
Okay.
go live. And I was like this checking and everything. I was like, oh my God, why am I in live? And anyway, the video is recorded, so there's no problem. But I believe this time it's working. I hope I'm going to check later. And yeah, so finger crossed that this time it's working. So for this month's edition, we're welcoming Ravi from Nurall. Ravi, I think I knew him through Rowena, who's posting a newsletter on LinkedIn about remote work and who's doing always some profile about digital nomads. So it's really tied that community of remote work and digital nomads on LinkedIn. And I think I knew Dean as well too because he wasn't wasn't it Dean that was called the king of digital nomads, something like that? I think I asked, and he said that just people started calling him like that. I guess he's putting a lot about digital nomad on LinkedIn and on other platforms. And so they were talking about that crazy, amazing retreat in Goa. I was like, oh my God, I want to go there. But then there are other retreats, in Croatia, in Turkey, in wherever. I'm like, okay, I cannot go to all these places. But India is definitely on my list. I would love to go to Goa and maybe to Nurall. Ravi, thank you for being here. Welcome.
Thanks, Fanny. Thanks for having me. And I would say that definitely come to India, either with Neural or with different offerings. And Goa is like a perfect space to start because like it has the right vibe. And yeah, it was really nice to connect with you because we hosted Dean in Goa. It was a super fun time to meet him in person after working with him for some time. And we had a really good time with a lot of international and Indian nomads. That was the good mix in Ural. So thanks for having me on this channel.
You're very welcome. Thank you for being here. I was just crossing my finger that maybe we're live or not. And I don't know, but let's not care about that. What matters is the conversation right now. And I know we're going to share the hell out of it later, whatever happens. Um, So we were talking. So that's how I got to know you and Nurall and all the things you've been doing. But is it something you've been doing for a long time? Have you always been in the co-working, co-living, digital nomad industry, or is it something more recent?
No, no, it's actually something more recent. I think Neural in this version has been going on for 2 years. So it's actually started. I mean, a lot of the changes happened during the pandemic, right? Like, I think this whole motivation
Mm-hmm.
of what we want to do, how we want to work,
Oh yeah.
for me and for my team actually happened during the pandemic, where we realized working remotely and the ability to travel uh, is something that's super special. It's also a privilege, right? Like right now, not everybody is getting that opportunity.
No.
Uh, and so it's been since 2 years. The interesting thing is the word neural was formed almost 10 years ago when we did one version of Neural 1.0, and then I did a bunch of other roles. But in this version, Neural has been going on since almost 2.5 years, and I think it's been a really good learning and a
Mm-hmm.
growing experience in the last couple of years.
So really, the pandemic, the lockdowns, with all the bad things that it had, was an opportunity for you to grow Neural and to go from that first version to the current version.
Correct, correct. The word neural comes from connecting people. So it was all about
Mm,
like it's a small
connection.
take. It's all about connecting people. So we were thinking. So the nice thing is we learned. I think the value of human connections during the pandemic. I think one of the
Hmm.
things that we found was when we went all digital and all virtual, we realized that we want to actually connect with like-minded people who help us grow professionally or personally, and that was the motivation. So since we formed Neural, the whole goal has been how do we get people who have this desire for this lifestyle, right? Who want to work, grow professionally, but also want to balance work and life, and also explore all the beautiful places. So we love to travel. So that's how Neural started, and I mean that's where we have been focused because I think India has a lot of things to offer for a lot of people, but it's also new to a lot of digital nomads, right? And a lot of remote workers have not been there because of scary stories or things that they've heard, and we want to make it super easy to come to
hmm
India, come to Goa, have fun. So
Yeah, so how was it? You said Neural, as it is today, started 2 years ago, so at the beginning of the lockdowns. But the first version was 10 years ago. 10 years ago was completely different. I was working remotely before the pandemic. I always had to explain what remote work was, that yes, I was working. Yes, it is serious. No, I don't do the course. I don't watch TV. I don't eat what's in the fridge. I do real work at home or at a co-working space. Uh, Now we don't have I don't have to explain anymore. That's my silver lining. I don't have to say what remote work is or why it's interesting because everybody had a taste of it for the best and the worst, I admit. Um, so 10 years ago, why did you think about it and why did you want to start this big adventure?
right, right, right. So 10 years ago, also it was about connecting people, but then it was more around people who were mentors who could advise and people
hmm
who were looking to learn. So I think the interesting theme is me and Karthik, another person of our team. We've always been interested in how do we use technology to get people closer together. So,
mm
and I think the great thing about and after Neural, we worked on different companies. I worked on Amazon, bunch of startups. So I worked across the tech field, Silicon Valley, and also I think big tech companies. But what I realized as I worked in all of those companies is again, what's happening is we are using all of these virtual tools, but we are again not connected. We're getting feeling more distant with people that we like to connect, people that share
hmm
the same vibes. Like when both of us can connect now with remote work,
It's true.
with the beauty of virtual connections. And
Mm.
I mean that's what led to one thing was the epiphany that remote work is not just sitting at home. I think that's the other very important thing. We have a co-working space called Cafe Rasa in Goa, and we want people to come, different diverse people, artists, creatives, freelancers, corporate employees, and experience how it would be to work together in a co-working space because that also makes things very different than working from home when you're working remotely.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I explained the difference because the words are different. Remote work and working from home, the words are different. So it's different. Sure, a lot of people have been working remotely historically, have been working from home, having their own room or even an annex sometimes. That's what I love. Uh, but it's not just that. It's people working at cafes, working at co-working, maybe moving around, and the new trend of digital nomad that can exist also because the technology is there. I love what you've been saying about technology connecting people because a lot of comments about technology is that we're getting isolated like this on our phone all the time, but
Right.
it's also a way to connect with other people, maybe through screens and sometimes also in real life. hmm
Right, right. No, and I think both are possible. So what we have been learning is in our digital nomad retreats, the connections initially happen virtually. We talk to them, we get to know each other, but then also people come together. So people who I think even digital nomads, remote workers, one perception is might be one wrong perception is they don't want to connect. Actually, they do want to connect and do they do want to meet other people in real life and actually have shared experiences, right? That's where it becomes special. But I think the idea is the the main thing is flexibility. People don't want to be
hmm
forced to go sit in a cubicle and then again get on Zoom and call another person because then it's the whole thing is what are you trying to
Yeah.
do, right? you're doing the whole
Or
thing.
worse, on Slack, I heard people on the same floor, are messaging their colleagues on Slack because they're on the other side, or everybody's focused and they don't want, to be too noisy or anything like that. And just, typing a message on Slack is so fast. So why actually talk, which might sound weird, but for small messages like that, yeah, Slack is the best, and maybe video calls is good when you have a distributed team in India, in the US. I had that one company, so I was working in Belgium, and headquarter was in the US, and technical team was in India, and we had a video call with all of us sometimes together, which is very tricky because the time zone are horrible,
Right.
but it works somehow. So yeah, why go to the office if it's to have a video call with Europe or the US or India?
No, no, definitely makes sense.
Mm.
And I think what we see is people are moving more towards recordings and also asynchronous work. I think it takes time because we need to get adjusted, but the idea that you can work asynchronously in your time zone, but also coordinate with somebody in a different time zone, right? I think
Yeah.
that's coming up. So definitely, uh, I would say, I mean, it's a very interesting topic. So people coming to co-work and how they're working, we have been seeing actually less video calls, but they do want to come to co-working space to vibe with the other people who are there in co-working. And
Hmm.
it's a very different vibe, right? When you are in co-work or a Wi-Fi cafe, it's we might
Yes.
not be there 8 hours, you might be there 2, 3 hours of focused work, but then you have a community that supports them in
Yeah.
the co-working space. So that's also what we've been supporting.
Yeah. You work with some people and you work remotely through tech, through Slack, video calls, or that. And then you're in the same room and some other people sharing a kind of energy and ecosystem. You might or might not work with them, but they're your community too. Not just your direct colleague, but people who are there for you in the same space.
Correct, correct. So one of the beauty of co-working
Hmm.
spaces is I think co-working, if you think about it, it's not just about getting people to a space and working from that space. It's also about the community that builds around that space.
Hmm.
So we have a lot of people love like social Fridays, events that we do at the co-working spaces because uh, I mean, for freelancers, it's a way to connect with other freelancers. They get business opportunities, but they also get social opportunities. So it's your tribe is everywhere, or your community is everywhere. Is what I would say. It's not just in the office, right? So it's also
Hmm.
in your co-working space. It's in your digital nomad retreat. It's maybe in the class that you go to, maybe the yoga class that you go to. So the different versions of community are coming up, which is where I think, and people love this because they get
Hmm.
to connect with other people, right? So,
And that's great what you're saying, because another big concern with the pandemic, with remote working, is that a lot of people get social interaction through work and have maybe friends, maybe good friends, or just buddies at work, and having to that's the difference also between remote working and working during a pandemic. It's totally different because, as you were saying, remote working is not necessarily working from home. It's working from all kind of different spaces with their own energy, and that's the thing you can get. You can get social interaction not necessarily from your colleague, but from other people who are sharing the same space, whatever that means, as you.
no, definitely,
Mm.
definitely. One of the major concerns we hear from digital nomads and remote workers is you have to be proactive so you're not lonely, right? Like if you're just traveling by yourself as a solo traveler, but actually, a lot of that has been, if you see almost every space, any popular remote workspace or any popular digital nomad space, there's a Facebook community, there are a bunch of
Yes.
remote worker groups. So actually, there's a very active community. It's not, I think that's post pandemic at least, it's very easy, right? You could Google or go to a group and see. All of these communities are there, and there are beautiful spaces too. Uh, so yes, I think. if you think about remote work, not work from home, and you are meeting people, then you're maybe meeting more diverse people, right? Because not just people
Mm,
in the office, you're meeting
yeah.
diverse people across the world on your journey, which
Hmm.
is also very interesting.
Yeah, and you were saying you have different spaces, or at least you're partnering with different spaces. You have mentioned Zara Cafe several times. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's a cafe in Panjim called Cafe Rasa, where Navneet is
Mm-hmm.
part of Neural's team. And Cafe Rasa and Neural is also partnering because we have the same vision. So the idea of Cafe
Mm-hmm.
Rasa was it's a co-working space which is set up right next to the river. It has beautiful views, and it's also a place where we do a lot of events, like artistic events. We also
Mm-hmm.
do social events, and even the idea there is we want to encourage people who are in Goa to obviously make sure there is a very solid infrastructure for them to
Mm-hmm.
work, not worry about like Wi-Fi connection and all of that, but also meet other people. So let's say you are on a retreat in Goa or you're visiting India, then you know that if you land here, there's a community of people who are working across India, and they can reach out to that community. So it's we are working with Cafe Rasa, and we're also enabling a lot of remote work and digital nomad retreats across India. And in all places, we make sure that there's a good space for you to work either from the cafe or from a co-working space, and then also explore places. So it's kind
Mm-hmm.
of like that's the key for people, I
Yes.
think.
Yeah, so it's not just about your own space, even though your own space is really important. It's about the whole infrastructure, the whole network ecosystem that's around it. Maybe other spaces, cafes, event space, and other cities. Like you were saying, Nurall is not just in Goa, it's in a lot of different places. So by tapping into that network, you can meet people from other places, and if you want to travel, maybe having the help from that network to be able to travel, to get ideas, to meet again more people, and to get that kind of energy, I would say. Huh?
Exactly, exactly, Fanny, as you
Mm,
said, because similar to Cafe Rasa, in each of these cities, different people have formed their own co-working space. They form their own community. So what if we connect all of those communities, right? What if we have a easy way for somebody to go from, let's say, Goa to Bangalore to Thailand to Bali, and then we create this layer where we can connect people? Then there's a lot of value, right? It saves people time. They know that they're taken care of, and it's also that we are supporting
mhm.
their journey. So that's so right now actually uh, our colleague is in Bali, and we're trying to see how people in Bali who want to come to India, how we can work with co-working spaces in Bali to get them to India, and people from India to get them to Bali. So
Yeah,
the whole
that's
the whole
so amazing. Yeah, yeah.
the whole idea is and interestingly, that's how I think we have been growing organically with
Hmm.
other partners who are also growing in this region, right? So
Yeah, because for example, Bali or Indonesia and Thailand, it's a very famous spot for digital nomads. So it might be the entry door to other Asian countries and to discover more about that region. Mm.
definitely, definitely, India, I think, is close enough to Bali, Thailand, but there's also a very interesting hospitality side, the culture that you can
Mm.
experience, and I think with some of these places where and the other nice thing is with mobile networks, I think the internet speed has become really, really strong in a lot of these areas. And that's where we want to curate it. We want to say,
Hmm.
come over, how do you see other places? And we also want our local community to interact. That's the other very important thing, right? Like, if it's only people traveling, they will also not find value. They're like, I'm going to Goa, I want to meet people from Goa, I want to meet people
Hmm.
from Bangalore, I want to meet people from Kerala, because that's when they get that local interaction.
Yeah.
So most of our retreats are like a mix of like both international travelers and local travelers, and that's
Hmm.
what a lot of people like. Like, hey, I didn't expect there was such a nice community, growing community in these
Hmm.
cities. So
What do you try to do 50-50, or does it depend on the time? Do you refuse sometimes people because you have too much of one or the other?
no, I think we try to. It is more organic. I think we try to see like we try to fill our slots and like people who are
Hmm.
interested in joining. So I think it varies. Sometimes it's 50-50, sometimes it's
Hmm.
more 30-70. But we
Hmm.
try to get a good mix. And
Hmm.
I think we have to grow faster because we have good interests and our slots fill up. So we have to grow faster. But the whole idea is, I think we want to keep it open. So like when we're
Hmm.
doing one event in Thailand now where it's about not just remote work, but how do we level up as a remote worker? So the idea there is, I mean, that has people from Thailand too, right? Like, so it's a mix of different groups that are coming together based on what they're interested in, I would say.
Yeah, yeah. And we were talking before going live that you have some plans coming in, new things you're planning.
Right, right, right. So we are very excited. What we have learned is from a lot of remote workers that in addition to retreats, they want to level up. So they either want to level up through professional skills or they want to level up. It could be mental health, social connections, physical fitness. So we are
Hmm.
launching a bunch of level up retreats. So we have one in Thailand right now. So it's like neural.co/calendar. So we have a bunch of retreats in one in Thailand that's coming up, but across India. And the intent is not just to get people. I mean, there is always you get people have fun, explore a place, but we also focus on one area that you might want to grow. Like
Hmm.
we have a retreat about a Muay Thai boxing and uh, with life coaching, which is going in Thailand. So some people
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
get into fitness. But then there's another retreat that we had in Bangalore, which was about how remote workers can use AI and all the tools like ChatGPT.
Hmm.
So, ba- so we are using customer feedback and what people love to create that. And we're also doing one with uh, our art partners called Artist Culture, which is happening in Thailand and other places where
Yeah,
they're getting artists together who want to work together to create a product. So it's mostly about uh, these kind of offerings, which we
yeah.
think help our customers, right? So
Yeah, I think you're going back to the to your beginnings. You were saying Neural at the first form 10 years ago, it was about people who wants to learn. And you just keep doing that. It's about learning about maybe other culture, because we will talk about traveling, locals, international guests, and now you're talking about health, maybe mental health or physical health, and learning to use new tools. So there's a lot of learnings in there, huh?
no, definitely, definitely. I think, and a lot of it is also what people are saying. So we listen to customers who come, listen, talk to each of them for their testimonials, and what they're sharing is the skill
Hmm.
sharing that happens at these retreats is super special. So let's say, uh, Fanny, you, me, and five of us met, and each of us shared, "Hey, this is the skill that I have. This is what I have learned. This is how you can be really good at this skill," and that's very valuable for remote workers, right? Then they're like, "Hey, I can just use those skills and grow." So in our first retreat, we had Komal, who was a solo traveler, content creator. She shared a lot of content creation tips. And there's like,
Yes.
okay, these are, it takes maybe many years to learn this. And this roundtable is very special, I think. I think that that's what we look to enable also. Organically, we get people uh, to open up and share. And then when they do
Hmm.
share, I think it creates this special connections between
Yeah.
the attendees, right? So,
Hmm. The organic part sounds very important too. It's not like you're controlling everything, but you're. We were talking about it somewhere on LinkedIn. I forgot where that we should surf on life and what's happening around us, not, really takes waves, uh, very summer kind of thing. And it feels like that's what you've been doing. You've been observing what's around you and let it grow organically.
Yeah, so we've been doing a lot of organic growth, and I think that's how I think the versions that we're creating. I would say we're still
Hmm.
very early, but the versions that we're creating
Mm.
have been based on what customers are saying. And the other interesting thing is, if you try to contain it, then people will not be excited, right? So when we get these
Hmm.
retreats with
Yeah.
interesting people together, it won't work to say. But if you say it's an open skill share, this is a format. We have well designed format. So when Dean was in Goa, he led a skill share, a couple of skill shares. People talked about content, people talked about SEO, people talked about blogging, but it was not. It was people who were coming to the retreat themselves who were talking, which gave
Participants. Yeah. Mm.
participants. So that I think is super valuable for
Yeah.
the community, right? So
Yeah, and making everyone engaged because whatever community is, it might be in your co-working space, co-living space, a retreat, a conference. It's about getting people engaged, getting people to do something, not just getting knowledge, but take action about something. And involving them in the whole process is super important, I feel.
right. And I think that's also very important because when a lot of people also realize that with remote work, traveling, there's also a path to financial independence, right? There's a very
Mm.
mm,
Yes.
there's a path to financial independence, the path to location independence. So it's a moment about freedom also. So if you think about it,
Mm.
so I mean more broadly, like the flexibility to work,
Yes.
the ability to travel, I think intrinsically it is a moment about freedom. And I mean that's why it's a natural thing. I think I see it as naturally people want to find this path, and if
Mm.
we can help them on the path, and then but then it has to be, people have to take action, right? Like if you uh, so I think a lot of people are learning remote skills, and some people who join us say they are on this path, and we are
Mhm.
helping them. So we talked about financial independence in one of our retreats, and people were really interested. They're like,
Yeah.
how do we
How do we do this?
spend, how do we do this, right? It's a very interesting, very
Yeah, it is.
lovely topic.
Yeah, all those topics go together about, I'd say, freedom, but also about taking care of yourself and, in a certain way, taking care of the people, your loved ones, people around you you care about, because you need health. You need financial health, physical health, mental health. You need all that to be able to be there for them. At least
Definitely,
that's how
definitely.
it resonates with me.
Sure, definitely, it makes sense. It makes sense, and I think you had mentioned Rovina
Mm,
earlier, and I think she is a strong believer about how families can travel together, and she's been doing
yes.
it. We've been learning from her. Uh, so I think in the end, it's about flexibility, and it's also, uh, I think, more people. I think more and more people are coming into the fold. So it's a
Hmm.
very organic moment, I would say, and
Hmm. No, no, great. And I wanted to talk about something else, but I forgot because we moved on. We moved on. Uh,
nice.
it's yeah, too many topics. I told Ravi before the interview that we only have 30 minutes, so we won't be able to tackle everything, and I'm frustrated, but that's how it is. It makes it even more juicier because it's we have to choose our golden nuggets.
No,
We
but
have to
definitely, I
focus
think
on a few topics.
this is a, we could talk, we could, as we were talking, saying Fanny, we could talk the whole week. But I
Yes.
think we covered the important piece. The important piece is about
Mm,
how remote work is not just working from home, co-working, how
hmm.
it's also like there are these options for people to
Yes.
get together in different places, and it's all about learning and growth. So it's been, I mean, it's fantastic topics to keep talking. Very passionate
Yes.
about.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, we're going towards the end, so we have to stop sadly. But maybe there's something else, one thing, only one you might want to add.
No, definitely. What I would say is one thing that I would like to add is come to India as a remote worker, digital nomad. I think it's a fantastic destination. If you have questions, reach out to us on Instagram. That's where we are most active. But uh, I think there's a good community, very vibrant community there, and there is very strong remote work and travel options, right? Because it's a very different,
Yes.
very lovely place, and we would love to welcome more people. I think
Mm,
that would be nice. I think for
yeah.
a very welcoming experience.
Yes. And so the best place to reach out to you would be Instagram, right?
Right, Instagram. So it's Instagram Neural underscore CO. So that's our
Hmm.
Instagram handle. We share all of our, we are active on DMs and we share all of our community messages, retreats that we are hosting, people who are coming, joining. So it's a easy way to also connect with the community that we have growing. And also on our
Yeah, great.
website,
Hmm.
Neural. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll add the details in the comments so that people have links and can go directly there. Well, that's it for us. Thank you very much, Ravi, for being here and for sharing all those golden nuggets.
Awesome, awesome. Thanks, Fanny, for having me, and thanks everyone for joining. And best of luck in your own journey. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. You too. Bye, everyone, and see you next month.
Bye.